So hello everyone, welcome to Sir CRT College of Engineering Online Education. So in the last class, we have seen the introduction of the second unit, that is the optimal scheduling of hydrothermal systems. So in the first unit, we have taken only a thermal power plants, but in the second unit, we are taking a one more source along with your thermal source. So in the last class, we came to know that what is the meaning of this statement, that is what is the meaning of optimal scheduling of hydrothermal systems? And one more point we came to know that is why it is necessary. So since from so many years we have used only thermal power plants, but along with the thermal power plants, why we need to consider one more source, that is nothing but hydro source. So we have seen these 2 points, that is what is the meaning of this statement and similarly why it is necessary. And in this class, we are going to see a classification of hydroelectric power plants. Some classification is there, depends upon the sum of the parameters. So in this class, we will see the classification of the hydroelectric power plants. And at the end or in the middle of the class, I will ask a very simple observation question, because when we are taking this concept, that is classification of hydroelectric power plants, this seems to be a very theoretical concept. So that's why I will take this question, observation question. So first we will take a classification of hydroelectric power plants. Before going to in details of the classification of hydroelectric power plants, let me put some actual facts in front of you. That is, the first one is the biggest hydroelectric power plants in the world. So those are nothing but these are. The first one, the first column represents the plant and the country, and the second one is the capacity which is going to be generated by the corresponding plant. When you see the first one, the plant name is 3 Jaws and it is present in China, and it is going to generate 22.5 gigawatts. So already we know what is the value of gigawatts. So 1 gigawatt is equals to 1000 megawatts. And similarly, the second one is it is present in between Brazil and Paraguay, and it is going to generate 14 gigawatts. And similarly, a third biggest hydroelectric power plant is also located in China, and it constitutes around 13.86 gigawatts. And the fourth one is present in Venezuela, its contribution is 10.2 gigawatts. And the last one means fifth biggest hydroelectric power plant in the world is present in Brazil, and this contribution is 9.39 gigawatts. So when you look at this table, definitely you can understand one thing, that is China contribution. That is nothing but 22.5 gigawatts, and similarly one more thing is 13.86 gigawatts. So out of the 5 biggest hydroelectric power plants, 2 are present in China itself. And I will share one more shocking news to you, that is if you consider in India, total installed capacity of hydro in India is 45,699.22 megawatts. For example, if you convert this one into gigawatts, you will get 45.6 gigawatts. So when you compare with the first one, 50% of the total India installed capacity is generated by the only one power plant in China. So around 50% of the total hydel installed capacity is generated by the only one power plant in China, that is 22.5 gigawatts, which is generated by the 3 Jaws power plant, and it is located in China. Of course, I cannot say we are generating very low power by using hydel power plant, because in order to generate power by using the hydroelectric power plant, it is depends upon the geographical location. So because it is depends upon availability of the water. So we must have a source of water, we must have availability of the water. So these 2 points depends upon geographical location. So when we are compared to India and China, China has some advantages geographically. So that's why they have a plenty of water geographically. So that's why they are going to generate a more power when compared to in India. So this is nothing but our observation from this slide. Okay, and coming to India wide. So let us try to understand the India-wide. The 5 biggest hydroelectric power plants in India is these are. So all of you look at this one table. So when you look at this table, the first column represents that the name of plant and it is present in which state. And the second column represents the capacity of the corresponding hydroelectric power plant. So the first one is the Delhi Dam. It is located in Uttarakhand and it is going to generate around 2,400 megawatts. And similarly, the second one is Koyna Hydroelectric Dam. It is located in Western Ghats and the capacity for the corresponding power plant is around 1,960 megawatts. And the third one is Sri Salem Dam. Everybody knows about this Sri Salem Dam. It is located in the states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. The total contribution for the Sri Salem Dam is 1670 megawatts. So I'm saying a total contribution is 1670 megawatts means when you compare Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, when you consider the individual states from the 1670 megawatts. So out of these 1670 megawatts, we will have only 770 megawatts. So only 7 units comes under Andhra Pradesh, and those 7 units, each unit rating is 110 megawatts. So 7 into 110 megawatts, that is nothing but 770 megawatts is comes under Andhra Pradesh, and the remaining power, that is 900 megawatts, is comes under Telangana. 900 megawatts means totally 6 units are there. Each unit rating is 150 megawatts. So totally we can get 900 megawatts. So that is comes under Telangana. So totally 770 plus 900 is together we have a 1670 megawatts. That is nothing but Sri Salem Dam. It is the third biggest hydroelectric power plant in India. And the fourth one is Nagpal Jatri Dam. It is located in Himachal Pradesh, and the contribution for this corresponding plant is around 1500 megawatts. And the fourth one is Sardar Sarovar Dam, and it is located in Gujarat. Fifth one, and the contribution for this one is 1450 megawatts. So this is nothing but fifth one. But after the fifth biggest hydroelectric power plant, I have considered one more two power plants. Those are nothing but Nagarjuna Sagar Dam, and one more thing is Polavaram project. So everybody knows that why I'm considering these two, because these two power plants are also a part of Telugu states. When you are considering Nagarjuna Sagar Dam, it is located in between Guntur and Nalgonda districts. Means it is present in our Telugu states only. And the total contribution from this Nagarjuna Sagar is 966 megawatts. And if you see the place of the Nagarjuna Sagar Dam in the India-wise, it is present at 9th place. So out of this 966 megawatt, Andhra Pradesh will have only less power, and the remaining power is nothing but goes to a Telangana state. And the last one is Polavaram project. So we are very much familiar with the Polavaram project. It is located in Andhra Pradesh, and the power from the Polavaram project is 960 megawatts, but it is under construction. So we don't know exactly how much time it takes for the completion of the Polavaram project. Not only for the power point of view, it has a lot of advantages in terms of water. So water is used mainly for irrigation purpose, and the second the byproduct is nothing but power only. Okay, most of the people will consider that we are constructing dam on the reservoir is only for a power generation. No, the first main purpose is for the purpose of irrigation, and the byproduct for that reservoir is power generation. So Polavaram project has huge advantages. So that's why from this Polavaram project we can get a 960 megawatts, but still it is under construction. And one more important observation from this table is this one. So when you see the total AP installed capacity is around 1700 megawatts, it is very less when compared to the first one and the second one. So already I told you that it is very near to the Srisailam Dam. But already I told you that out of the 1670 megawatts, we will have only 7 units. That is nothing but 7 into 110 megawatts. So totally 770 megawatts, which comes under Andhra Pradesh. And the remaining power is goes to Telangana. So this is nothing but observation from this table. And the next one is, so we have seen 5 biggest hydroelectric power plants in world. Similarly, 5 biggest hydroelectric power plants in India. And the next stage is coming to our state. When you are considering our state, the hydroelectric power plants in AP, so I cannot bring each and every one to the world, and similarly, I cannot show each and every one which are present in India, but I can show you each and every hydroelectric power plants which are present in AP. So that's why I'm asking very simple question. How many of you are ready to see each and every one, each and every power plant which are present in AP? Just drop your message in our chat box. Definitely I can show you each and every hydroelectric power plant which are present in AP. Very good. 18 series 229 is raise hand. So still A1 is also coming. Similarly, A5, B4. So I'm getting responses from so many people. So are you ready to see each and every one? So that's why I'm bringing to each and every one for a virtual education tour. So everybody will try to go for a virtual education tour. So for this one, I will share one more screen. Is it visible for you? I'm sharing one more screen. Is it visible for you? Okay, good. Now I just opened the official site. That is nothing but AP Genco, Andhra Pradesh Power Generation Corporation Limited. So when you open this site, easily you can get a lot of information from this site itself. So when you open this AP Genco official site, so you can see the starting page. So in this page, the most important points are nothing but the power plants, and coming to the right side, we have daily generation in million units. Is it visible for you, everybody? Yeah, good. Now, the most important 2 points in this slide are power plants. Similarly, the right side we have a daily generation. So coming to the first, let us consider power plants. So when you open these power plants, we can identify the total installed capacity, and we can identify the individual installed capacity by the hydel and the thermal and non-conventional. For example, when you click on the first one, total installed capacity, so then you can find out the total installed capacity. So the first one is a thermal power plant. The total thermal power plant installed capacity is around 3,410 megawatts. And similarly, when you consider the hydel power plant, the total installed capacity is around 1,800 megawatts. And from the non-conventional power, the total installed capacity is around 5.4 megawatts. If you add all the 3 things, means from hydro, from thermal, and from non-conventional, we will get 5,213.026 megawatts. So this is nothing but a total installed capacity which is present in our AP. You may get one doubt, sir, we have some power plants is also there in Nellore. But whatever the power plants are mentioned in this AP Genco official site, these are nothing but totally set up by AP Genco itself alone. For example, if you are considering the Nellore, if you are considering the some of the power plants are there in our AP state, those power plants, some of the power plants can set up by the NTPC. Those power plants cannot be mentioned in this official site of AP Genco. So whatever the power plants are present in this site, they are set up only by AP Genco itself. Okay. So this is nothing but a thermal power plant installed capacity and a hydro power plant installed capacity and a non-conventional installed capacity. And coming to the hydel, this is very, very important. So when you open that hydel, you can identify how many power plants are there in AP. So totally in this table, we have 11 hydel power plants are there. From starting to ending, we have totally 11 plants are there, and they are representing capacity at the same time units also. Units means how many generators are there. And similarly, coming to this graph, easily you can observe each and every power plant starting from Srikakulam to Chittoor. So this is nothing but just like a virtual tour. So when you are seeing a Srikakulam and Vizianagaram, there is no power plant. There is no hydroelectric power plant. And coming to this one, this is nothing but our first one, that is Machkund hydroelectric power plant. The rating of that Machkund power plant is 120 megawatts, and 120 megawatts it is having 3 units. That is nothing but each rating is 17 megawatts plus one more 3 units are there, and in this one each rating is 23 megawatts. And similarly, try to observe the remaining power plants. So, for example, when you consider the second one, this is nothing but Appal Sereru hydropower plant, and this one is Donkaraya power plant, and this one is Lower Sealeru power plant. So, like this, each and every power plant we can see. And this is present in West Godavari district only, Chetpeta mini hydro power plant. And one more is Nagarjuna Sagar right canal. So already I told you that when you are considering Nagarjuna Sagar and Srisailam, we have 2 canals are there. One canal is comes under AP and one more canal is comes under Telangana. For both Nagarjuna Sagar at the same time Srisailam. And this is nothing but Srisailam. Srisailam is having totally 7 units, and each unit rating is 110 megawatts. So totally we have 770 megawatts. And similarly, when you are considering the Nagarjuna Sagar right canal, so from that canal we will have only 90 megawatts, and each unit is 30 megawatts. Totally we have 3 units are there. So this is nothing but a Srisailam right canal. And coming to this side, in border of Karnoolu, we have Hampi power plant is there, and similarly one more thing is Tungabhadra power plant is there. And the last one is one mini hydro power plant is there on the river of Penna. So these are nothing but totally 11 plants are there in our AP state. So still, if you want to know additional information, so how we can get an additional information means just come to here, click on this one. When you click on this one, you will get each and every point regarding the hydroelectric power plant. So just now I click on Srisailam right bank powerhouse. So regarding this, you will get each and every detail like project works, project program, project cost, coming to the reservoir and the dam details, and power tunnel and head, and similarly how many units are there and in which years they have commissioned. So each and everything is there in our official AP Genco site itself. Similarly, if you click on one more, that is nothing but a Nagarjuna Sagar, you will get each and every details from this one. So the first one is a general information, how many units are there, and similarly where it is located, and river, Krishna river. So first one is nothing but general information. And coming to the second one, it is nothing but related to the hydrology, means a reservoir parameters, maximum discharge, gross head, a design head, each and everything is there in the second one. Similarly, coming to the third one, it is nothing but a budget. So what is the budget for this one? And the next one is commissioning details, means from which date it is going to operate. So each and everything you will get from this official site itself. So like this, you can get each and every information from the site, official site, that is nothing but APGenco. So totally we have 11 power plants are there. So when you see the first one, Matchkun power plant, so generally it is located in between Orissa and Vizag. So in Orissa, they are calling this river as Matchkun, but the same river, we are calling that one as Sealeru. So this plant is also comes under a Sealeru river, and this is one more power plant is also there, that is Upper Sealeru. And in between Upper Sealeru and Lower Sealeru, one more power plant is there, runoff plant, that is nothing but Donkraya. Donkraya plant is also a part of Sealeru itself. So the first one, and Upper Sealeru, and the Donkraya, and Lower Sealeru. So all these are nothing but a source is Sealeru river itself. Coming to the next one, Chettupeta, it is nothing but a canal only. So that's why when you see a 10th power plant, the capacity is only 1 megawatt. 1 megawatt is means it comes under mini hydel power plant. So totally we have 2 units are there. Each unit rating is 0.5 megawatts. So that's why 10th one is nothing but a runoff plant. Is the source for this one is just a canal itself. And coming to the Guntur district, already I told you that Nagarjuna Sagar is present in between Gunturu and Nalgonda districts. So the source for this one is Krishna River. And coming to the second, one more thing is Sri Sailam. Again, the source for Sri Sailam is again a Krishna River itself. And coming to this Hampi and Tungabhadra, for these two, the source is nothing but Tungabhadra River, and it's a part of Krishna River itself. And one more thing is nothing but it is located in Anantapuram. The source for this one is Penna River. So like this, you can get each and every information when you open your official site. So not only hydel power plant, still you can get thermal power plant, and similarly you can get non-conventional power plant. So before going to thermal, just I will play some more 2 videos, because in this slide itself, 2 columns are there, 2 points are there. Those are nothing but hydropower generation and special pump mode. So when you click on this one, you will get some videos. Just try to understand, and everybody try to concentrate. So I will play those videos. Just try to observe each and everything in this one. Yeah, one more screen is visible for you. Just respond, anyone. Yeah, good. So observe this operation of the hydropower plant. Of course, there is no sound. You have only video. So this is nothing but a basic principle of hydroelectric power plant. So reservoir, and this is we can say gate or intake, and this is a control gate, and whatever the connection tube is there, that tube is called as penstock, and this is a turbine, and this is outflow from the turbine, and this outflow is connected to the outer reservoir or river itself. And this is generator. Generator is mechanically coupled to the turbine, and this is transformer, and these are nothing but a transmission lines. Observe everything. Yeah, voice is not there, only video is there for this one. And these videos are present in the official site of APGenco itself. The simple operation is, this is reservoir. So generally we used to maintain a proper head. So when we are able to maintain a proper head, we can generate the power by using the same source of water, because when we are used to store the water, we're having a potential energy. We are going to that convert that potential energy into the mechanical energy. So finally, mechanical energy is going to convert it into the electrical energy. So that water is coming to your pen star, and that water is rotates your turbine, and the turbine is mechanically connected to the generator, and the generator will produce electrical power, and that is going to be transmitted by using a transmission lines. So this is nothing but a simple basic principle of your hydropower plant. A simple principle. Understood, everybody? So this is a turbine, and this is your a generator. Generally, we can call it as a synchronous generator. So this turbine is mechanically coupled to your generator. Whenever this turbine rotates by the usage of water, which can be stored in terms of a potential energy, automatically generator will generate electrical power. This power is going to be transmitted to the load side by using the transmission lines. This is a simple, basic principle. And let me show one more diagram. That is a special pump mode. So what is the difference between hydropower generation basic principle and the special pump mode is, let us try to understand that. Yeah, now observe each and everything here. And tell me your observation in our chat box. Very slight difference is there when compared to our first one now. What's the difference, sir? Yes, very good. 18 series 214 is saying that acting as motor and generator. Very good. One more person is 18 series 230 is saying that PCAS. Very good. So now try to understand this diagram. So when you see here pump mode, in brackets we have two options are there. That is nothing but peak hours and off peak hours. Off peak hours is nothing but we can say light load condition. So we have two conditions are there coming to the load side. One is a peak load and the second one is a lightly loaded condition. So in these two different conditions, how your primer will act, similarly how your synchronous generator or synchronous machine will act. For example, during heavy loaded condition, that means peak hours, what happens? This synchronous machine will act as a synchronous generator, and this prime mover will act as a turbine. So turbine will take the water from the reservoir, then automatically this potential energy is going to convert it into the mechanical energy in the turbine, and this turbine is connected to the generator. So mechanical energy is converted into the electrical power. That electrical power is transferring to the load via transmission lines. So this process is happens during heavy loaded conditions, means peak hours. But coming to the off peak hours means lightly loaded condition. What happens? What happens means when you observe this diagram very carefully, easily you can understand. So this turbine will act as a pump. Similarly, this synchronous generator will act as a synchronous motor. So this is one is called as a special pump mode. Special pump mode. So during light hours, what happens means in this one we have two types of reservoirs are there: low reservoir and high reservoir. This is nothing but high reservoir and this is nothing but low reservoir. During light load conditions, what happens means whatever the primer is there, this primer will act as a pump. So that's why this pump will take the water from the lower reservoir and it is going to send to the higher reservoir by using of your pump. And how we can operate our pump? By using a motor. So that's why whatever the synchronous machine is there, in this mode, synchronous machine will act as a motor. So that's why in this one, this machine will take the power from the transmission line. Just observe the power flow. So in this one, power flow is going to generator to the transmission line when the load is there. When the load is very less, this power is coming from transmission line to synchronous machine. So in this one, your synchronous machine will act as a motor. By the usage of that motor, this prime mover is acts as a pump. So when this prime mover is acts as a pump, so it can draw the water which is stored or which is present in the lower reservoir, and it can fed back to your main reservoir. So again, where we can use or when we can use this extra amount of water is again during the peak hours of time. So this is the difference between the special pump mode during off-peak hours and similarly peak hours. Understood, everybody? So the same synchronous machine will act as a motor, at the same time generator, and the same prime mover will act as a turbine, at the same time pump. Depends upon our loading condition. Okay. Now coming to our actual official site. So this is nothing but the total information related to the hydel power stations. And similarly, you can observe thermal stations also. So here, totally we have 5 stations are there, and you can observe here each and everything. Let us consider a first one, that is VTPS. So when you click on that one, easily you can get every information which is related to that corresponding power plant. Okay, you can scroll down and you can get each and every information. Of course, whatever the class I'm going to take, this class is not for the sake of examination. So this is only for awareness. Okay, and the most important point we need to understand is what is the name for unit 2? The unit 2 name is optimal scheduling of thermal and hydroelectric power plants. Now I can show you the meaning of optimal scheduling of these two power plants now itself. For example, coming to this side, this shows that a daily generation, when you are considering September 8th, 2020, the total generation in million units is 39.103 million units. So out of 39, we are using hydel power plant to generate up to 11 million units. And the remaining is done by thermal, at the same time non-conventional. Okay, observe each and everything. So total demand is 39.103 million units. Out of this 39 million units, we are going to generate 11 million units by the usage of hydel. So 11 out of 39 means it is around 28 to 30%. So we are using 28 to 30% of the total demand by the usage of hydroelectric power plant. And similarly, we are going to generate 25 million units by the thermal unit, and the remaining power is done by the non-conventional energy sources. Now coming to the daily generation, just click on daily generation, you will get this table. So in this table, when you observe very carefully, you can understand what is the meaning of optimal scheduling of thermal hydro power plants. So when you are considering this table, from 1 unit to 7 units, these are comes under VTPS. It is located in Vijayawada. And similarly, one more thing is there, that is Rayalaseema power plants. And after that, we have hydro power stations are there. Now, if you observe, the total demand is 39.10. Just now we have seen the total demand yesterday itself, 39.10 million units. Out of this 39 million units, we are going to generate 25 million units by using thermal units. Similarly, out of this 39, we are going to generate 11 million units by using hydro power plants. And the remaining is nothing but non-conventional energy sources. But this is the time to understand what is the meaning of optimal scheduling of hydro and thermal power plants. When you look at this Rayalaseema units, Unit 1 is not in operating condition. Similarly, remaining units are also not in operating condition. Just tell me anyone why these units are not in operation. Tell me in our chat box. Anyone, please respond. So once you understand, then automatically we can get the information of your second unit. 18 series 253 is saying that if the load is served, then it can be rest position. Yes, we will wait for one more response. Exactly, I will tell you the reason for this one. If you understand this reason, then automatically we can complete our second unit. So this is total demand is 39.10 million units. Out of this 39.10, we are going to generate 25.7 million units from the thermal and 11 from 30 million units from hydro, and the remaining power we are getting from a non-conventional energy sources. But still, we are having a Rayalaseema units from unit 1 to unit 6. My question is, we are operating VTPS and similarly we are operating hydropower plants and we are operating non-conventional energy sources. But why we put your Rayalaseema units in inactive state? And my voice is audible for you now? Please respond, anyone. Is it audible to you? Yeah, good. Now, I will tell you the actual reason now. When you see the total load, that is nothing but 39.10 million units. So already I told you that the main objective in the first 3 units is nothing but to minimize the fuel cost. And in the last class itself, we have just compared the fuel cost between thermal power plant at the same time hydel power plant. When you are considering hydel power plant, the fuel cost is very, very less, or we can say negligible. If you are considering thermal power plant, the fuel cost is more. So that's why what we will do is, when the water is in available condition, when the water is there, then automatically we have to operate your hydel power plants in order to minimize your fuel cost. Means instead of operating our Rayalaseema power plants, if you operate these hydel power plants to meet your load, then automatically we can minimize your fuel cost. When we are minimizing our fuel cost, we can provide the power to the customers at cheaper rates. But instead of operating these idle power plants, when you operate these Rayalaseema power plants, what happens? Automatically, the cost of the fuel is increases. When the cost of the fuel increases means the generation cost is also increases. So that's why in order to minimize the generation cost, or you can say fuel cost, what we will do is, we need to operate idle power plants along with the thermal power plants. But the condition here it is, water should be available. But when you see nowadays, it is nothing but rainy season only. So that's why we have a plenty of water. So that's why you can operate your hydel power stations. But compare, just see the same table after 2 months or 3 months. we cannot generate this much of power by using hydropower stations, because after 2 months or 3 months, we may not have this much of water. There, what we have to do, we have to operate these units. We have to operate the remaining units. So that's why the most important understanding point here is we need to operate hydel power plants along with the thermal power plants in order to minimize the total fuel cost. Nowadays, we have a plenty of water. Water is there. So that's why we can operate our hydropower plants. Okay, no need to operate our thermal power plants. And similarly, the same thing you can understand from its higher official side, that is, just observe here. These units are kept under reserve standby. What is the meaning of here? Reserve standby means, just tell me anyone in our chat box. What is the meaning of this one? Of course, some units are not operating because of the outages. Outages means some misoperation is there, or some problem is there. But what is the meaning of under reserve standby? Just drop your response in our chat box. Yes, very good. 18 series 53 is saying that storing for future use. One more is saying that stored ones. Very good. So already I told you that when you are operating this power plant at the same time hydel power plant, when you are in the position to meet your load, then what is the purpose or what is the necessity to operate these power plants? There is no necessity. So that's why we kept all these units in reservoir mode. For example, if the water availability is decreases with respect to time, the water availability is decreases with respect to time, then what we will do is we are going to operate these units one by one. Try to understand here. Here we have a lot of water is there. Water availability, we don't have any water problem nowadays because this is nothing but rainy season. So that's why we are operating almost all hydropower plants. So that's why we kept all the thermal power plants which comes under Rayalaseema power plant in a reserved condition. But after 2 months or 3 months, what happens? We may not have a plenty of water for operating all hydropower plants. Means water is decreases with respect to time. But we need to meet our demand. So in those conditions, what we will do is we are going to operate these units in the condition. So this is the meaning of optimal scheduling of thermal and hydroelectric power plants in order to minimize our fuel cost. When we are minimize fuel cost, we can minimize the generation cost. When we can minimize generation cost, then automatically we can minimize the cost at consumer levels. So this is the meaning of optimal scheduling of thermal and hydro power plants. Now, let's go to our actual concept. So similarly, you can understand each and everything when you are visited our official AP Genco site. And the next we will see the classification of hydro plants. So basically, depends upon some of the parameters, we have classified your hydro plants into based upon 4 groups. First one is based on the installed capacity, and the second one is based on the head of water, and the third one is based on availability of the water, and the last one is based on application of the load. So based upon these 4 points, we have classified your hydro plants. So first we will see based upon the installed capacity. That is nothing but a mini hydel power plant. So when you are considering the mini hydel power plant, the name clearly itself indicating that when the power generation is less than or equals to 5 megawatts, that corresponding plant is called as mini hydel power plant. Similarly, next one is medium power plant. So when we can say a medium power plant is when the power generating capacity is in between 5 to 100 megawatts. Then we can call that power plant as medium power plant. And similarly, large power plant. So when we can say large power plant is when the power generation is in between 100 to 1000 megawatts. Most of the hydel power plants is comes under this category only. Most of the hydel power plants, large power plants only, means the power generation is in the between of 100 to 1000 megawatts. And the last one is supercapacity. So when we call it as supercapacity power plants is when the generation is more than 1000 megawatts. Okay, and the next one is based on the head of the water. So already we know what is the meaning of head. So based upon the head of the water, we can classify our hydel power plants into three categories. That is nothing but low head, medium head, and high head. And coming to the low head, if the head or if the level of water is less than or equals to 70 meters, we can call that one as a low head. Similarly, coming to the medium head, if the head is present in between 70 to 300 meters, that is nothing but medium head. Similarly, the last one is high head. When the head is present more than 300 meters, that one is called as a head. This is nothing but the classification of the hydel power plants based upon the head. And the next one is based upon the application of the plant. Means, for example, when you consider the total load we can classify into two types. First one is peak load and the second one is base load. So depends upon this point, we can classify your hydel power plant. First one is base load power plant and similarly peak load power plant. So with this, I conclude the classification of the hydel power plants. And one more classification is there, that is nothing but depends upon the water availability. So tomorrow class, I will take that classification. And at the end, I will ask very simple question, that is nothing but observation question. So be ready, everybody. This is a simply observation question, especially in the lab itself. When you look at ammeter and voltmeter, these two are nothing but the representation of the meters, ammeter and this is a voltmeter. So what is the shape of this ammeter and voltmeter? It is nothing but a rectangular shape. Similarly, when you are considering a digital meters, this is nothing but digital meter. These two are nothing but analog meters, and this is nothing but a digital meter. When you are considering a digital meter, the shape of the digital meter is also a rectangular or a square. Similarly, let me take one more meter, that is multimeter, because why I am taking this meter is you can measure your ammeter or current and voltage by multimeter also. So that's why I am considering this meter. When you are considering this meter is also same thing, a square or rectangular. But here my question is, in order to represent our ammeter and voltmeter in our observation books, what we are using is circular shape. In order to represent our voltmeter and similarly ammeter, we are representing circle. Okay, we are representing a circle. Why? When you are considering the physical dimensions or physical shape of any voltmeter and ammeter, it is nothing but a rectangular or square shape. But why we are taking circle shape for representation of your ammeter and voltmeter on paper? Just guess the answer and drop your response in our chat box. Yes. My question is simple. So in order to represent ammeter and voltmeter, we are taking circles. But when you see outside, the meters are not present in a round shape or circular shape. Those are nothing but either may be present in a square shape or rectangular shape. But why we are taking these circular shapes? Just anyone respond in our chat box. Yes, I got response from somebody. That is 97. That is pictorial representation. Means What I'm asking is on what basis we are using a circle for representation of the ammeter and voltmeter? That is my question. Because a measurement subject is over for you, and you have done a lot of experiments in measurements lab and machines lab and networks lab also. And this is nothing but a simple observation. When you observe clearly in our labs, easily you can say the answer for this one. Yes, respond anyone? Whether your answer is right or wrong, that is secondary. But the thing is, you need to respond. I got a response from 214. Meters are in different shapes. We cannot draw that symbols. We following universal symbol. That thing I'm asking, universal symbol means on what basis universally we are taking a circular shape. For example, universally if we take a square or rectangular, to draw a square or rectangular, it's not so difficult. Easily we can take a rectangular shape or a square shape. But why we are taking, or on what basis we are taking circular shape for the representation of the ammeter and the voltmeter? I got one more response from 18 series to 18 because there is a continuation of supply in meters. I'm not getting your point, so please elaborate your point. So meanwhile, try to think of it. And tomorrow we will take one more classification is there, that is nothing but the classification of hydropower plants based upon the availability of the water. So already I've shown you two types of hydropower plants. That is, first one is reservoir type and the second one is pumped storage reservoir type. And we have one more, two types are there. That is nothing but runoff river plant and runoff river plant with pond base. So with that, we can complete your second topic. That is nothing but classification of hydropower plants. So with this, I will wind up your session and thank you very much.